Over the past half century, American cities have been dominated by new freeways, being built across the country in an attempt to alleviate traffic caused by the increase in automobile usage. The idea of urban freeways is incredibly divisive present day, with some pretty major concerns related to how it affected the residents of the cities. But there's no denying that pretty much every major American metro sold into the idea of these highways at some point in their histories. Especially in the biggest cities, infrastructure has been designed for freeway travel. So today I wanted to look at the US cities with the most freeways. We'll go by total freeway mileage and cover the top 5 for time's sake. Before this video starts though, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. The channel has been slow recently, so if you enjoy the content and aren't subscribed, doing that is the best way to help things speed up a bit again. Thank you so much. So when looking at which city has the most freeways, you can go by two metrics, either per capita or just sheer numbers. If you look at it by per capita, a city like Nashville would have an advantage, with 12.9 miles of freeway per 100,000 people, while a bigger city like Los Angeles only has 3.1. This would be a very different list, as other cities, such as Peoria, Illinois, have had major freeway histories, with that city seeing 22.6 miles per 100,000. Today though, I wanted to just look at some of the biggest cities in the country to find out which has the largest freeway system by total miles. So let's waste no time and get into our cities and talk a bit about their system of highways and how it affects the city. So in 5th place is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This city is home to 524 miles of freeways throughout the metropolitan area. Now, this is an interesting start because talking about statistics, Philadelphia has significantly less average daily traffic on their freeways than pretty much any of the most major American metros, being more in line with somewhere like St. Louis, with just half as much as somewhere like Miami. So getting into the layout of the city, its two major interstates are I-76 and I-95. I-676 goes directly through the downtown to connect those two interstates, while they form a sort of loop around the main city area. On the New Jersey side, there are other freeways, including I-295 and the New Jersey Turnpike. The city proper doesn't see too many urban freeways, as it's denser and more historic, but it's definitely still a major part of the city, though just 8.9% of the metro's roads are freeways. Moving to 4th place, we see Houston, Texas. Now, obviously, moving into Houston is a whole different beast. The city is extremely sprawling, with suburbs stretching almost 100 miles from one side to the other at most. This is a very different city than Philadelphia, in that it isn't dense, it's newer, and freeways are a very major part of its history. It has 577 miles of freeway built, accounting for 10% of the total road system and 49.3% of the total traffic. The average daily traffic on the freeways is 102,000. Which is notably an increase from Philadelphia of 35,000. Taking a look at the city, it seems to be built around the freeways a lot more than our last city. I-10, I-45, and I-69 all pass through Houston, meeting in the downtown. Looking at our beltways, there's a small one right around the central business districts, one larger one around the main city, which would be I-610, and one even farther out, which would be the Sam Houston Tollway. And then finally, the very new freeway along the outer edge of the metro, which is still incomplete in some areas. The metro is home to America's widest freeway, the Katy Freeway, which bumps up their total lane mileage by a lot compared to other cities. Moving into 3rd place, a very expected one comes up, which is Los Angeles. So the City of Angels is known for how it's affected by freeways, with some of the worst traffic in the country and the busiest interstate in the US with I-405. It has 644 total miles of freeways, accounting for just 7.4% of its total roadway system, but 52.1% of the annual traffic. I will say if you're just looking at its total roadway miles, it jumps up to 2nd place by a wide margin. But that's not all we're talking about here. Moving into the layout of the city, I-5, I-15, and I-10 all travel through the city, with 10 and 5 meeting in the downtown, and I-15 staying on the outer edge of the metro. There are several spur routes, from the 710, 210, 215, and 605 to the aforementioned 405, the busiest interstate in the country. The metro also has US 101, the southern end of the Pacific Coast Highway, and several state highways, it feels like there's a never-ending list of freeways within the metropolitan area. Moving to our second place spot, we have Dallas, Texas. Firstly, I find it interesting that this metro has so many more freeways than Houston, as they're both very similar on the subject. But when you look at this metro, it makes more sense, as it has a much messier spaghetti of freeways, from beltways to just random routes that go anywhere they want to. The metro has 713 miles of freeways, and serves as 10% of the city's total road system, but a surprisingly high 54.8% of the total traffic. I think an interesting stat is that Dallas has a very high daily vehicle miles of travel per capita at 28.7. This stat basically shows what the car usage is like in the city, being up near cities like Kansas City, Austin, and most notably Nashville, which blows any other city out of the water at 41.9. Getting into the city's layouts, we have I-35 east and west, I-20 and 30, and I-45, which terminates in the city. These interstates already make up a large freeway map, but the city also has spur routes like I-820 and I-635. The freeway mileage numbers get run up by the state highway system though, with too many 3-digit routes to name, and also some pretty major tollways in here, like the Sam Rayburn or the President George Bush. Anyways, all of these come together to make a pretty crazy freeway map. Moving to our first place spot, it is unsurprisingly just the biggest city in the country, New York City. This city blows pretty much every sheer number statistic out of the water, with 1,254 miles of freeway. It's just so much bigger, and with places like Long Island and all of northeastern New Jersey included, it's hard to compare. 9.8% of the roadway system is represented by the freeway system, and 50.9% of the total traffic. Getting into the city's layouts, we have some chaos here. As far as major interstates go, there's I-78, I-95, I-80, and I-87, with some coming directly into Manhattan and others bypassing the city proper altogether. Again, there's too many spur routes to name, but some major ones include I-278 or the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, or obviously the Long Island Expressway on I-495. There's also so many major parkways, which I assume are counted by the Federal Highway Administration, which runs this number up a lot, since there are so many of them and they technically run at a freeway standard and help the city move to the top of the list. But their lead is so wide compared to the next best, so I suspect it really wouldn't matter. But that's the end of today's list. There's plenty more info related to the topic on a highway statistics table released by the FWHA every year, and I have the info I used in this video linked in the description below. So feel free to check that out if you're interested, because I think it's incredibly fascinating and can change the way you look at certain cities. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members this week: Kurt Ainsley, Yoshi Fu, Jerome McCall, Haystack, Makita Martinov, KMS162, JL Sir JC17, Bryson, Dominic Psyche, Rosebud 4, Jeremy Jarvis, Christopher DeAngelis, Darkbird, Big Pasty, Jeremy Crone, Wolfling73, Snyder Swine, Florida Jake, Benjamin Whitings, Ryan Devins, and Haas of the Wolf. I appreciate you all so much. You do so much for the channel. If anyone wants to become a member, it's just a way to help me out financially. I'm saving up for college, and all of this money is just going to go straight into my savings, so you know it's going to a good cause. So if you appreciate the content and want to help me out, that's the best way to do it. Thank you.